Hello, this is Module 1G, and we are talking about filtering and sorting data frames. So, something that you may often want to do in your data frame is filter based on an attribute. And the way we do that is by essentially creating true and false statements. So first of all, I'm just going to copy out this piece of code right here into a new cell. Okay, so this is a logical expression which returns, it's going to return either true or false based on whether or not my wind speed is greater than 15. So if I print this, we see that this makes a column vector, which is, our 96,000 some long, with either true or false values based on whether or not the wind speed is greater than 15 kilometers per hour. So using this true-false vector, I can filter my data frame. So if I come down here, what I'm doing is I'm creating a new data frame. I'm calling it high wind, and I'm saying I only want rows where the wind speed is greater than 15. So by pretty much feeding this data frame in this column of true and false values, it's only going to select the rows where this expression is true, and that is what is going to go into my, oh, that's old code there, that comment needs to be changed, but that's what's going to go into my new data frame. So if I print this, we can see that in this new data frame, high wind, instead of the 96,000 some rows that the original data frame has, this has now filtered out all of the rows with wind speed below 15, and now we only have 20 some thousand rows. So you can see it selected the whole rows. It didn't just select the rows with wind speed, because all this evaluates to right here is a true false. So simply put, that's how you filter in data frames. It's pretty cool. Now, what might we want to do with this? So something I've noticed about this data frame and that I'm kind of curious about is this summary column. So we've looked at this before using value counts, but pretty much what it is it's just kind of like a verbal description of what the day was like. And I'm curious how these verbal descriptions, or I don't know if verbal is the word, but how these written descriptions actually correlate to the numerical data. So you'll see that these descriptions, some of them say breezy, some of them say windy, and some of them don't mention wind at all. So I want to be able to eventually see what these different categories are like. So long story short, what my goal in this next chunk of code is going to be is I want to create a new column where the values in this column say either windy, breezy, or still based on what this summary column says. So this is how we're going to do it. First, I need to create kind of my logical vector of what I'm describing as windy conditions. So what I've written out here is I've written all of the times that I would consider it windy conditions. So this is when the summary equals windy and partly cloudy, or that bar there is an or, when the summary equals windy and overcast, or windy and mostly cloudy, or windy and dry. So I've gone through this list, and that's everything that says windy in it. Looking back, there's probably a better way to do this than writing it all out. There's probably something fancy I could do that would actually search for the word windy in these strings, but I just decided to do it the long way and actually pick them all out. So here I've done the same thing with breezy. I've said, okay, well, when summary is breezy and overcast, or breezy and mostly clear, or breezy and partly cloudy, You get the idea. So I've made my selections, and now I'm going to use a really cool method, or well, function, I think technically, called np-select. So this is actually a NumPy method. NP is our abbreviation for NumPy. So how this is going to work is it creates a new column, and it does it based on a set of conditions. So it takes in kind of these two lists. So my first list is my conditions. And so, in a more normal situation, this might be a shorter condition than what I have here. It might just be something like, when, something more like what I did up here. This would be a more simple condition. I've made some kind of complex conditions. But yeah, this first list are going to be your conditions. And then the second list correlates to what the value in the new row should be when that condition is met. So I'm saying when my windy conditions are met, I want the value in my new column to say windy. When my breezy conditions are met, I want the value in my new column to be breezy. And then I can also specify default. So I say if neither of these conditions are met, then my default is still. So I'm going to run that. I assign it to this new column called wind type, and you'll see I have a new column in my data frame. So it's going to be over here at the end, wind type. And just to prove to you that it actually worked and that it doesn't just say still for everything, I'm going to grab this and we can do a dot value count. And there you can see it says either still, breezy, or windy. So that is how you can use filtering and also np-select to make a new column based on your previous columns. Kind of cool. The next thing we want to look at is sorting your data frame. So you can sort your data frame either by index, using the dot sort by index, or by column using the dot sort values. So let's run each little bit of this code and see what happens. So for our reference, this is currently what our data frame looks like. The order it's in is just according to these numerical indices right here. So if I come and I use sort by index, I just say df sort by index. I don't give it any more information. This is automatically going to sort in descending order, which this makes me think that I wrote this wrong because that is ascending order. Let's see here. What if I do? Okay, yeah, I must have this backwards. Looks like ascending equals true is the default. And if I want this to go in descending order, I need to switch it to ascending equals false. Let's take a look at that. Ah, there we go. Okay, so to sort in descending order, ascending needs to equal false. By default, it equals true. So let's put that down in there. Yep, and then if we do ascending equals true, or if we just leave it off, as we've seen, so now my data frame is in this order, but I can come and I can resort it into ascending order. Look at that. I can also sort by column. And so that I'm going to do right here. And I'm going to create, actually let's do a new name here just so I don't mess up my current data frame. But yeah, so I'm creating a new data frame called df sorted. And so that's going to do a sort by values. And I say by equals, and then I tell it my column name. And if my comment is correct here, that's going to automatically sort in descending order. Let's see, I said column by wind speed. I have all of these backwards. It looks like that sorts in ascending order. If I actually want to do descending order, ascending equals false. Okay, this should actually do it. There we go. That's actually descending order. So those are the sort by functions. Apologize for my typos there, but yes, you can sort by index or you can sort by a column. The default looks to be ascending, but if you want to change it to descending, you can add in this ascending equals false. Yes. So before we go on from this, just a little more that I want to do and to show, I guess, why this could be important, is to do some editing on our data frame here. So something that I've noticed is that our data frame is not currently in chronological order. So if I just look at the first part of my data frame, looks pretty good, looks pretty chronological, starts on 2006, that's probably April 1st, and we're just chronologically going through the day. That looks good. However, if I go a little further in, right now I'm printing off rows 20 through 30, we see that it's not quite right, because I go from looking at April 1st, April 1st, April 1st, to once I get to the last hour in April 1st, suddenly I'm now at April 10th. So instead of actually sorting by chronological time, it appears to just be looking at these strings and just kind of going through it like alphabetically. So that's pretty unuseful if we really want to look at this as, you know, useful time series data. So we're going to do a few things. I'm going to be making these changes to my Fahrenheit data set. You'll see at the end, I want to kind of save this out. So what we're going to do here is Pandas has this function to date time, which can actually go and it can take in kind of, you know, this date time string and turn it into a date time object. So that's what this first line of code is going to do, using to date time. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a sort by values on the formatted date. So let's just run that part so you can see what happens. Okay, so we can see, well, really we can't see anything. This just kind of looks like it did before. But this column right here is different. This is now, if we actually went and looked in at like the object type, we would see that this is a date time object type. So now that that is done, what I'm going to do here is, wait, did I sort by it? Sorry, I'm losing track. Oh wait, no, I did do it and then I sorted by it. Right now I'm just looking at the first couple. That's not what I want to do. I want to come... Wow, I've just gotten entirely confused. That's okay. Forgot what I was doing here. There we go. We're going to look at that same portion again. And look, now we can see that since we've changed it to a datetime object and we've sorted by that formatted date column, it's now moving correctly. So first of all, we're starting off in January, which is a good thing. And then we're going straight from January 1st to January 2nd which is what we would expect. So that is all good. However, we notice that our indices are now all over the place because the indices were in order, but now we've went and shuffled the order in order to sort it by the formatted date, and it's kind of a mess. So the last thing that I'm going to run right here that I didn't run in this chunk, but we'll run right here, is this, which is going to take the index and reset it. So we'll run this, which has that last little line included. And now I'm looking at rows 20 through 30, and we can see that the index has reset. So thanks for coming on this adventure with me. That was how to filter and how to sort in DataFrames.